Good afternoon. We welcome you to the 88th Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Today's offensive breakout session with Missouri offensive coordinator Kirby Moore, along with student athletes Luther Burden III, Brady Cook, Javon Foster, Cody Schrader, and Theo Weiss Jr. Student athletes will be available across the hall for one-on-one interviews in Green Room A. Coach, before we get into the questions, please tell us a little bit about your student athletes, first starting with Luther Burden III.
Yeah, I thought Luther's, just this whole season, he's made some huge strides and taken the next step within his game and really his approach off the field, right? Taking care of his body from a mental standpoint. He's playing faster. We all know his abilities, and so he's done a great job this whole season with the ball in his hands.
Brady Cook.
Work ethic is second to none. Offense starts with him. The things that we ask him to do at the line of scrimmage, taking care of the ball, and really being the starting point in terms of having command of the offense.
Javon Foster.
Anchor, right? He's played a ton of football. We emphasize the outside zone and just been a huge anchor within the offense, pass protection, locking down that side.
Cody Schrader.
His ability to, just make guys miss, extra yards. The guy is a quarterback playing running back, and I know you guys all have gotten to know him, but he's watching film on the bus. He's watching film in the meeting room. He's working out at the hotel. The guy is unbelievable.
And Theo Weiss Jr.
Huge part of our jump on offense, the success he had early in his career, coming to Missouri, just taking command of that receiver room, him and Luther, Mookie working together, Mackay. He's been a huge bright spot for us.
All right. To our media, we ask that you please state your name and affiliation before asking your question. And we'll start on the left here.
What's going on, Coach? Gerard Hamilton from PowerMizzou.com. Your name was attached to some other jobs out there in the country and stuff like that, but you decided to sign an extension. What went into that extension? What were some of the talks you had with Drink about coming back?
Yeah, I think just feel very positive of where we're at, where we're going. I think there's a lot of different moving parts within college football right now, and we have a lot of continuity, right, moving forward for next season. So just excited about that.
Follow up to that, Coach Drink said last week that this is the most fun he's had in his near two decades coaching.
Yeah.
Do things like that, kind of how much fun you guys are having, kind of go into this as well?
I would agree with that statement. We got a tremendous group of players, offensive staff. It's our offense. It's not my offense. And so just working with those guys on a daily basis, it's been really enjoyable this year.
Coach, Eli Hoff with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. You talked a little bit about Javon there and what he was able to open up, but just this offensive line as a whole and some of the stability, what exactly did that open up for you as a play caller on offense this year?
Well, I think there's just a sense of freedom, right, that those guys are going to consistently do their job, and the matchups, right, in the SEC at times are difficult. And some of the teams we play, you look at the Florida drive and the 2-minute drive where we had some big completions. The one thing that no one talks about is, right, we didn't get any pressure. And those guys did a tremendous job. Defense knows we're throwing the ball. Florida's got a really good D-line. 3rd and 17, 4th and 17, huge completions, and it starts up front.
As a real quick follow-up, what did it take to get buy-in from a guy like Javon, who I think he's about to start his 39th consecutive game, who's just he's been around college football so much. What does it take to get a guy like that fired up for this?
I think that's pretty internal. Javon is a very reserved guy, but you can tell, right, he loves football. He loves competing. And I think he just really came back, right, to take the next step as a player.
Coach, to your right, fourth row.
Kirby, Mark Godich with the Missouri Alumni Association magazine. Okay. Can you talk about how you've seen Brady evolve from the time you got on campus a year ago to the start of fall ball since he couldn't practice in the spring, and then how he's evolved over this season?
Yeah, well, it starts last January, right? He had a procedure after the season, so spring ball he was not available, but from a mental standpoint, he was glued in, right? Taking meetings, really in the meeting, you felt like he was practicing, just the amount of detail, communication that he had. He was behind taking mental reps. In the summer, there's more access now, so getting a feel for some of his strengths and things that he really liked, and continued that through fall camp early in the season. We're able to win, but we didn't play our best, I would say, on offense. And then that third game against Kansas State, his confidence really grew. There's some things that we did offensively that I think he felt comfortable with, and it still comes back to execution, and that carried over throughout the rest of the season.
Kirby, Joey Van Sumeren with Fan Nation. Last week, Eli talked a lot about just how when you first got here, how willing you were to kind of mesh your system with what he ran. Can you talk through the process of meshing those two together, and then also kind of how that helped out your players by running stuff they were so familiar with?
Yeah, it starts with watching every game from last year, right? Practice, individual cut-ups on certain guys, and then terminology, because you still got to feel comfortable calling it, right? And there's certain things. The big thing for me is just making sure, my parents are educators, so when you're teaching and communicating with the guys, you got to be able to tell a story, and things got to be able to go together. You think of when new guys come on campus, transfers now, and those guys adapt into your system. Outside zone, right, was something in the run game that had been done very well here, so we stayed with that. A few things in the pass game, play action game that we adjusted. But, I mean, it was an open book and just kind of went to work on that.
What are you looking forward to in this next year to be able to have guys now familiar with your system from the start of the season?
Yeah, we'll start that when we get done with this game in January. Self-scout, evaluating the things still we did really well, things we can improve on, things that other offenses are doing in college football and in the NFL that do really well that might fit us. And so you're going to explore those things throughout January and February.
You talked about Theo earlier and all that he was able to do. How much do you think his experience and maturity was able to help out this team, especially with young guys like Luther?
Tremendous, right? I can't reiterate that enough. The experience that he had and success he had early and the work that he's put into it on a consistent basis, he really treats it like a true pro, and that carried over within our whole offense.
Kirby, I'm Kyle Helms. I'm with ABC 17 News. I was just curious.
Right down the back, Coach.
I'm not sure how much experience maybe as a player or as a coach that you've had playing at this venue, but what are some of the things that you've been emphasizing to your guys about playing in a venue like this and also just preparing for this game?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I've been to a couple games, right? Brother coached here a little bit. And so, no, I think our guys have played in some very cool settings, right, within their experience in the SEC. And I really am, Coach Drink's covering that really, really, really well. And those guys are going to get out there, and it still comes back to execution, right? It's going to come down to taking care of the ball, being explosive, right, establishing the run, and scoring in the red zone and executing on third downs.
Quick follow-up to your contract extension, too. Just in your first season here, just what has really stood out to you about this program, and just how excited you are to be able to stay here for the future?
The players really embrace the work during spring ball, fall camp, during the season. Toughness Tuesday, winning Wednesday, right? We're thorough on Thursday, fast Friday, all those things. Our guys are they're really students of the game and love working with them.
Coach, still in the back to your left.
Hey, Coach, Colby Zach with KMU 8. We talked a lot about you impacting the players on and off the field, and you're talking about their work ethic. How have the players kind of impacted you and made you a better coach?
Yeah, just the amount of, I think, options that we give them on certain things, whether that's at the line of scrimmage, some things within the pass game that we allow our guys to do. I believe having some freedom and letting their talent and ability to, see things fast and make us right instead of having to be in the perfect call.
Coach, front row to your left, second row.
Coach, how did you get this team's trust? It's one thing when you're kind of promoted as an offensive coordinator within your school you're already working in, but when you get a job somewhere else, you kind of got to have people buy in. So how did you gain their trust and say, this is how I can help you and this is how we can work together?
I don't think that happens in one day, right? That's over time. I don't care what the level. I think if guy, in terms of building relationships and showing that we can take the next step as an offense, right? Over time, we have some success in practice and throughout fall camp, really good defense across the ball, and then that carried over. It didn't happen all at once, though, right? It happened, as the season went, and then that carried over into some big games.
Coach, to your right, front row.
Coach, as you look back on the season, when was the moment where you feel like this offense really hit its stride and that you really felt like everything was coming together in the way you had envisioned it?
Yeah, that's a hard. There's certain points right in the K-State game where you felt good, then we got pretty stagnant there in the second and third quarter. Fourth quarter came back. We're never a finished product, right? And there's still things shoot out at practice today that we got to improve on and detail up. And that's why I love our guys, though, because I don't think they're ever satisfied, and they always got something to prove.
Okay, Coach, down the aisle, all the way in the back.
Coach, what are some of the things that you think stand out about Ohio State's defense as you guys prepare for them?
Yeah, it starts with personnel. They got some pretty good players right up front. Linebackers, 35 does a great job in terms of play recognition. Secondary, you look at the point totals, I think it's 7 or 8 of the games right under 12 points. So give them credit for that. There's a variety of defense. Coach Knowles does a really good job. But at the same time, with that variety of defense, they're really sound. And so that's really good coaching and teaching, and their guys are out there executing really, really well.
Any final questions for Coach Moore? Coach, second row left.
Coach, earlier, Ohio State DC Jim Knowles said something like bowl practice is kind of similar to spring ball practice. You kind of get to see some guys who maybe not play as much get to participate and stuff like that. Was there anybody today in particular, as far as for next year, that you saw that kind of impressed you?
Yeah, I would say that was more back in Columbia, right? We had some good-on-good younger guys. I think you guys know some of the younger receivers have been out there at different times. Those guys are taking the next step. Jamal Roberts, quarterbacks are getting better, and so we'll keep working at that as we get into spring ball.
Coach Moore, thank you very much.
Thank you.
A transcript of this conference, along with video and audio files, will be distributed via email and posted online via the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic segment.